What is up? It is Minnesota Vikings Man 28, and today, Thursday, we are going to break down which free agents the Vikings should target in this year's free agency. We got some holes to fill. Specifically, we're going to be going over offensive line, defensive line, and then secondary, specifically cornerback. So let's get right into it with offensive line. And I put all offensive line. Guard in particular is the biggest need. We got solid tackles. Garrett Bradbury, hopefully, improving more and more every year. It's the inside people that we need to improve on. And, for this video, I feel like if the Vikings are going to bring someone in, I think they should bring in one big splash guy that can change things up. And that that is, of course, through not per position, this because of the cap space, but just one big guy instead of just many meh guys, because I feel like one big time veteran can really make a huge difference. The draft is for those low risk, high reward type of situations. So we want the most reward as possible in free agency. So Joe Thuney is one I've looked at. He's probably the best guard in free agency, in my opinion. No offense to Brand Sheriff. Joe Thuney he got $14.7 million. If we're going to clear up some cap space, I will include what I showed in my cap space video, and then cutting Anthony Barr in some other moves. But, getting someone like a Joe Thuney will help our offensive line spectacularly. Kirk Cousins will have more time to throw the ball. I mean, Dalvin Cook's already great, but, he can maybe get to that next level. Also, Trent Williams, you could, have him as a tackle, a starting tackle, move some of the other tackles inside and see how they do. But we'll see what happens there. Anybody else? I mean, we don't need centers. They could move in as guards if they wanted to. Nick Easton, former Viking. Maybe get him to be, a backup guard or a starter guard, rotational guard. That's someone, also look at. So that's offensive line. Now we're going to go to defensive line. Okay, give that a minute. And here we go. Defensive line. We got J.J. Watt, the person who's been dominating free agency news. J.J. Watt, is he going to the Packers, the Steelers, or the Browns? I do not know. Which one he's going to go to. But no one's talking about some other teams. Maybe the Vikings could go all in on defensive end. We need major defensive line help after our lack of defense pressure last year. So getting a veteran like J.J. Watt could help tremendously. If we wanted to resign, if we want to get back Yannick Ngakoue, that would be also cool if we could maybe get down the price a little bit. We did cut him when we were after the bye week. We were 1-5. That was no offense to him. It was just the team needed to, need to cohese. So yeah. Defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman Ndamukong Suh, getting back in the NFC North, maybe getting after Rodgers. He really wants to do that probably, but he's already in the NFC with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But only way to get him this season is in the playoffs, which could be a good possibility. Who else? Daquan Jones. Not many defensive ends. I'm like, hey, let's get him. Michael Pierce, depending on what happens to him, saying over and over, maybe get defensive tackle or something like that. but it's also at the right price, making sure we can sign these players while signing our first round, second round picks, because those cost the most amount of money, and the rest of our picks. And finally, we're gonna go to secondary. We're just gonna do secondary because why not? I'll include safety because we're probably not gonna keep Anthony Harris. Anthony Harris is on the top of safeties. Could sign a guy like Justin Simmons, but I feel like we need more cornerback help. This is where Patrick Pearson could come in. I think overall, I mean, if you're going between defensive line and cornerback,
and this
we hit it big with in terms of in the first round with Justin Jefferson, but not as much with Jeff Gladney. Cameron Dantzler, great. Maybe we can get another cornerback. Maybe if that would be free agency, maybe. And then in the draft, we can get an edge. That's sort of what I'm thinking. Offensive line is very important, in my opinion. But, through the however many years it's been, we've been saying we need offensive linemen. But, defense, that's Zim's bread and butter. And he's going to do what he's going to do to build up that defense. I feel like we have a good enough offense, so it's not that big of a deal for offensive line. So maybe get a cornerback in free agency and get some defensive line help in the first couple rounds, or at least the first round, and then get an offensive lineman in your second round. So maybe that could help. Also depending on who we keep and who we do not from our team, and if we re-sign anybody for our free agents. So yeah, some other cornerbacks I'm thinking of. I mean, Richard Sherman has at max a couple more years, probably maybe going to stay with the Niners or something like that. Let me see, Josh Norman, no. Jason McCourty, possibly. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking in terms of that. Mackenzie Alexander from the Bengals used to play for us. Maybe bring him back. He was decent enough. Xavier Rhodes. Who Xavier Rhodes? No, we won't talk about him. But yeah, you could get AJ Bouye, but I feel like Patrick Pearson, for the price, value what he's worth. I feel like he's much better than AJ Bouye at his price. So at that price point, but that's just my opinion. So, I would say either secondary or defense line, in my opinion. What do you think down in the comments below? What free agents should the Vikings be looking after, and should they go after one big person or many people with not as many decent people, but with because of cap space and all that. So tell me down below. This has been Minnesota Vikings Man 28, and as always, Skull.